This is Primitive Outfitting, and you are listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Chicken. Wow, wow.
Wow.
Nice.
And I'm not standing on my high horse saying I shoot a self-bow, because there's no way in hell I'm shooting a self-bow. When I say that, I mean that in a good Christian way.
As far as Cecil goes with me, I mean, I could really give a crap about that lion too much.
And all I was looking at was the tip of Aaron's arrow. And it was like this and this, and then it was kind of shaking, and then it went boom, solid like a rock. And I'm like, oh.
He's like, I got to know if you hit anything or not. You never really show excitement, because I don't. I'm kind of always mellow. And this thing, ready to jerk a tear. I was running around like an idiot. Woo! You know, if you ever talk to anybody from Africa, they're all about hunting lions because they eat people. Yeah. The compound, I have total confidence. With this thing, I'm like, yeah, maybe. But the way that America works, we're so soft, like softer than baby. All of us, basically.
The shooting errors, I'm going to call it Matrix effect. I panicked.
You know, we're talking about banning drones.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I like the idea of that for hunting.
I do 100%.
Yeah, but I don't think that drones, I think drones give a guy an unfair advantage, right? But you can argue that rifles give hunters an unfair advantage.
Yep. Depending upon if you're using beaver caster to trap, I would say that starts with a B and ends with an 8. It's bait, one way or another. There's no way around it. And so that's where when you start casting stones, and I'm not bashing on Ranella or whatever, I'm just saying that.
But it's sort of like this seesaw that you see. Like a guy's like Ranella, he's like, I don't hunt with radios. That's great. Now you've just seesawed up, right? Like you're on this higher plateau, and that's neat.
Then you got the 300 Win Mag.
Then you throw the 300 Win Mag on, it's like, whoop, it goes back the other way.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, the technology you're using is pretty high tech here. Or the guy with the stick bow and the helicopter versus the rifle and the legs. Aaron, does it look like it's recording?
Huh?
It is, right?
I don't know.
We're ready.
You're the expert.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. We're back. We got a topic we wanted to cover because we heard it on Joe Rogan's podcast
with Ranella.
With Steven Ranella. You and I have talked about this actually a couple times in the past, and I've heard a couple good podcasts on it too.
Yeah, we've talked about it in great length over multiple road trips and in the backcountry and everything else. And
you want to reveal the topic, or should I?
Well, technology. So
the technology we're having trouble working right now.
Yeah, exactly. Technology used or applied in hunting situations.
Yep. Ethics of it.
Yeah, the ethics.
Unfair advantage.
Not legality, not what's legal and illegal. That's easy. Just look in your state regs. But where it is legal, where the line is drawn, meaning here's the legal line and where the ethical line is. Now, in the case of Ranella, his legal line's here and his ethical line's down here, meaning he's stating he's not using much technology other than a gun that can shoot 400 yards. But we'll cover that in a minute.
So just to give some context, and this has been said before, there's a couple of things that are brought up, and that is that certain types of technology give you an unfair advantage in the harvesting or the killing of game, in the hunting of game. Therefore, some people don't want to use that technology because of their own personal feelings about whether that makes it too easy or not easy, or whether it's sporting or not sporting.
Yep. One of the things Steve had mentioned was
specifically
was the average ratio for harvest or killing an elk is 15%. So if they give away 100 tags, 15 elk die. With an increased technology, that means you give away 100 tags, 100 elk could die. So meaning if your success ratio is 100% and they only want 15 elk taken out of that unit, that 15 tags will only be given out rather than 100, because technology has compensated and helped out so much that we're just that lethal. Now, I can't say in multiple states. I can say in Colorado, the harvest ratio over the course of the last, 14 years is the same. It hasn't changed a whole lot. Not a lot of blips on the radar.
No spikes.
No spikes, no crazy drops, other than weather. Weather will make not necessarily the harvest. Well, it does to a certain degree, the harvest success, but it will drop tags. I can't say technology has raised or dropped any tags. I guess if any technology might be the internet letting hotspots get out, that
Yeah.
might drop some tags eventually. But
But overall,
it's
there has not been anything reported where there's been a significant increase in harvest rates to the point where, I mean, when I was a kid, the success rate on an archery elk hunt was, 7 to 15%.
Yep.
It's still the same.
Yeah, it is. I haven't hunted everywhere, but everywhere I've hunted, it's been about the same. 7. I always
But
just say
yet-
11 and split it in the middle. But
Yet, dude, you cannot deny that the archery equipment my dad used
it's different.
it does not compare to the archery equipment I have. As far as an advantage goes for my shooting.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, there's multiple.
So there's like this unsolved mystery, right? There should be a correlation in
Yeah.
success rates.
And I mean, you got to figure there's a lot more people in the woods, dipshits like you and I talking about backpack hunting. Cameron Haynes, he's on the top of the list of Pecker Woods too, of getting people in the backcountry. All good things.
Right.
Ranella, he's getting people probably never would have hunted out in the woods.
Yep.
But if you can't kill anything, it doesn't matter what you got in your hands. It isn't, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is not going to help you. You put a radio in my hand or without that mule deer.
Yeah.
We didn't have any radios. You had a freaking orange bag.
Yep.
Would the radio have helped? In some ways, it might have hurt because I'm loud,
Yeah.
right? Like it could have been, you know what I mean? Like it could have made me stop to where I had focused on you for a split second, and then I focused on what was going on. I've seen guys on those rhinos. It's comical. You know what I mean? Where are you at? I can't hear you. You copy me now? I'm going to be back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Got a lot going on. But some of my things from the podcast that I took from some of the things they talked about, and we both can say, Brian and I have both the opinions. We really don't care what you do. It's in the legal if it's in the legal limits of the law, and you're having fun. That's what's important.
Right.
We can also say that we like Steve Ranella and we like Joe Rogan. I think Steve and Joe are great. Some of the things that Steve said, I was scratching my head over. That if someone uses a radio to kill an animal, he's not putting it on the animal.
Well, he was just saying, look, you in your heart of hearts kind of have a feeling on whether or not something is appropriate or not appropriate, in terms of ethics, by how much you're willing to show it. And he illustrated his point by saying, okay, if a guy goes and hunts a high fence and he gets a photograph with the deer, the high fence ain't in the picture.
Right, and I agree. And I've said, you've heard me say before, I think in the record book, there should be a DIY public land asterisk or whatever. There
Right,
should
right.
be a guided governor's tag.
Landowner tag.
Landowner to everything, right? I mean, I think that, and we just talked about this on a recent one. A guy weighs, 400 pounds and he's killed everything on the planet, all guided hunts.
Mm-hmm.
Is he as good of a hunter as a guy that's killed a fraction of that animals on do-it-yourself public land hunts? Obviously there should be some asterisks, but yeah, I mean, I don't put my underwear on the elk either, and I use those or my, Copenhagen's with me. That's not
Right,
going on
right.
the
I
head of
don't
the
think
elk.
the fact that a radio is not displayed prominently in a photo with a deer or an elk that was shot is an indicator of whether or not someone feels bad about using a radio.
No, if we used a cell phone, it's illegal in Alberta. But
Yeah.
if we used a cell phone, I would say,
It doesn't bother me
Text
at
it,
all. It's within the legal means of taking game.
I mean, am I going to throw my droid up on top of it? Probably not. It just doesn't look as good in the photo. But I would tell people. I mean, I
Right.
would say that.
And
we use the
again,
radio.
it's not the actual. To me, Ranella has a point. There's no question that there are ways that people hunt, like they cruise up there on a 4-wheeler, but then they take a photo of it like they did this backcountry hunt, right? I mean, guys care about what other guys think.
Yeah.
And when they do it, they try to make it look like when they're successful. A lot of people are worried about that image, and so they're trying to.
Oh, dude, I'm taking photos of tame deer, and I don't want fences in the back. I
Right.
mean, I try and cut them out. That's not – everybody knows those deer live at Red Rock. Well,
Yeah.
not everybody, but a lot of people do. It's just that the photo doesn't look as good when there's a car behind it, right? But
Right.
you posted a video of it running around.
Yeah, with cars behind it.
Yeah, with car. It wasn't like I was hiding or you were hiding it. It just doesn't look as good.
Right, and there are some things that that we're both, we're not. I think it's very important that we as hunters are as honest as possible, right?
Yeah.
So when you and I use technology that help us, get game. For example, when I went to POW, I think we hung 8 game cameras
Yeah.
on the first day,
Yeah.
and then we reconned for 4 days using technology. Then we pinpointed an area, and then we hunted that the rest of the week and killed a great bear. That right there is using technology. We shared it wide open on the podcast.
Right. Well, and let's say you consider technology, let's say 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be equivalent 100 years ago right now. Meaning, you could say something like a bugle tube is unethical, but they had bugle tubes 100 years ago, so that doesn't count. But they didn't have game cameras and they didn't have optics and things like that. So technology's gonna help.
Well, what's funny though is it just feels like the pot calling the kettle black when
He's cranking stuff with a gun, for me, that's where like if
that's
if Steve,
exactly
if
what
you-
crossed
if you were
my
in front
mind
of me-
is if we're going to talk about technology and you're cranking something at 400 yards with a rifle,
yeah,
it's like, what about the guy who's a radio and a stick bow?
yeah, yep.
Where does that pan out? Like,
And I can tell you, firsthand knowledge, it's not that much help when you got a stick in your hand compared to a gun. I mean,
yeah,
for me, on some hunts, everything being equal,
there's no question.
I'll pick a gun at 250 over a radio at 30 and a stick bow every day of the week. It's
right.
I almost said the effort. It is a dead animal at 250 and a gun bedded.
Yeah.
It ain't getting up. But you put it at 20 to 30 with a radio and a stick and a stock, yeah, that's not even remotely close to the same thing. And there's a scope on the gun. There's no open sights. You're not sharpsing it, flipping up the big lever in the back. I mean,
right. It's not
scope.
iron sights. It reminds me of last year we had this conversation. We were talking about it, and we were talking about sheep hunting. Mm-hmm. And you and Phil hiked miles in the most gnarly terrain, and you shot that sheep and came on out. And we were talking about other guys who were like, that was a cute little sheep you guys pulled out of the mountains.
Oh, yeah.
Well done. It's an average representation of what a real sheep should look like, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
stuff like that, right?
Exactly. Like it's only 160 inches. There's way bigger sheep in the breaks, right? Or whatever.
And so that same person is flying in on a helicopter and getting dropped off just right where the sheep is, and they're not doing it with a bow, whacking it with a rifle.
And the success ratio for this with an archery for the hunt Phil did is like 5%, very low. And we didn't end up using, Phil just walked over and shot the sheep, but I think Phil would agree. I mean, I would have called him with a PA, loudspeaker, cell phone, whatever it took with that sheep.
You need every bit of edge you could get.
9,868 feet we logged in one day, elevation gain and lost on that hunt. So if Ranella or whoever was here, if the final stock, I texted Phil and said, dude, he's out of his bed. And Phil, okay, and it paused him for a second or whatever, and he shot it. I would not say we didn't do our due diligence of a hard ethical hunt compared to if someone went in with a gun and just shot it. I mean, a little bit different. So it is arguable. But I mean, there's other things too that I've also, you've gotten, we made a little list here. You got drones, radios, lighted nocks, lighted pins, gun, wheel bow, trad bow, optics, horses, four-wheelers, mountain bikes. Radio is a radio. I mean, most people I know, whether they got a radio or not, are successful every year. Yep. They're going to get it done with or without the radio. Radio probably can help or does help. But the radio didn't kill it. The radio didn't find it. What the radio did too is let the guy on the stock know the animal's behavior, which you can do with hand signs, which is more traditional. Mm-hmm. which, I mean, I've used radios a couple times, and it also can blow the stock as well. 'Cause
Right.
you-
They're a double-edged sword. They can hurt you as well as save your butt.
I quit using them for the simple fact is now if you were mic'd up like a Navy SEAL kicking down doors,
Yeah.
and it was an earbud, but when you have a radio, the one time I called the guy and was like, he's 40 yards in front of you, and the guy's trying to talk on it, and the deer stands up and his release is in his hand,
Yeah.
and he's trying to put the the radio in his pocket, and he drops it and it bounces off a rock and the deer bounces out. He probably would have been better off me flagging him in than the radio. Anyway, that's a few years back, and I don't get too wrapped up on the semantics or you gotta walk a pretty fine line to start casting stones on the ethics side as long as you're legal.
Right.
I guess the way I look at it is if a guy, and I'm no angel or saint in the sense of giving people crap, but let's say a guy, 65-year-old guy, and he finally drew a sheep tag this year, and he's extremely proud of himself, but his son radioed him in, and he made the stock or the shot or whatever. I don't really ever feel like I want to take anything away from that guy, from what he did by my own preconceived ethics or whatever. Not to say Steve was trying to do that or anything like that, but if it's within the legal, law.
But the high fence thing, though, if you do, there are situations where they go and they let an animal out and you walk up and shoot it. It's not hunting.
New Zealand, they fly a stag in and drop it off.
Exactly. So, legal doesn't necessarily mean right in my mind either. There is an ethics call, judgment call to be made to me, but I just think when it comes to technology, you have to be technology isn't the devil, I think, that some of us make it out to be, and I also feel like it's all relative, right? Because some guy walks in with some $6,000 spotter, and he's glassing crap on it. That's technology, my friend.
Yeah. Yep.
The fact that you're using binoculars at all is technology.
You got a guy that has to hike in on the gated road, and there's a guy that has the money to buy a four-wheeler. If we're going to keep everybody on the equal playing field, and I agree. My big thing is, just say it like it happened. Which obviously everything we do is pretty well documented on the ups, downs, and everything else. And I don't. This year, Alberta, you just drive around in a truck. Glass and stuff out of the
It's a hoot, man.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Then you're belly crawling through cactuses, and you're trying to kill an animal, get within bow range of an animal that spends its life staying alive.
Yeah, no,
it has its easy part. We're staying in a hotel. We're not backcountry.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I know Steve, he's likes to I don't want to stay in a motel. He wants to do the things the hard way, which is cool. I just think Jason Metzinger, and Jason's a cool guy we've met a few times. He did a video and kind of poo-pooed on technology a couple 3 years ago. But I didn't get too wrapped up. I didn't care. Whatever. We're going to do a podcast after this on dieting. I'm going to throw out some fat jokes because I feel I'm okay because I was a fat kid. So people may get mad at that. But as Jason's wearing arguably the most high-tech clothing known to man, sporting with the best cooler on the market, shooting a gun with a very, very, very nice scope, crapping on compound guys shooting 70 yards. Where's right and wrong? Where it is a very sensitive subject and a very fine line, because they're like, well, dude, come on, now you're wearing high-end clothing and a scope and a gun, and
it's like there needs to be a little less judgment and a little more like.
And again, I don't have any issues with Metzinger.
I love Jason.
Yeah,
love Jason Metzinger.
Yeah, the show's cool.
When you go up a hill though, and the guy hikes in, 20 miles, climbs the mountain, and shoots a sheep with a rifle, you're like, yeah, but he did it with a rifle.
Yeah, some people are.
Shed Crazy just did that video I posted on Instagram, which was hilarious. But
he did it with a rifle? He did that?
He's like, the first thing you got to do when someone kills a big buck, because it's going to make you feel small and insignificant and unimportant. So in order to combat that, first thing you need to do is attack how he shot it. Oh, you shot it from the road. Oh, he didn't go in the back country. Oh, and he goes through all this list of things, right?
That's pretty comical, yeah.
It is funny, man, because that's what a lot of hunters do.
Yep.
And
Oh, dude, I've already gotten it from the Alberta mule deer. Ziegman, which he didn't mean. any
you
negative.
shot it with a stick bow, but
Well, Dave,
you're
was-
in Alberta.
We were talking about no, it was guides, and you know how that
Oh,
went
yeah,
this
yeah.
year, right? Like the first go round did not go well with the whole guide thing.
Right.
So, I mean,
A guide in Alberta felt like a ball and chain we had to drag around.
yeah,
We
and not
love
that-
them,
Yeah,
but it was like,
if I had a choice, I would go on my own, and
Right.
not with Landers.
I don't
fun.
mind
Yeah.
hanging out with Jeff or Ben
Or Ben.
Jackson.
Yeah, but it's not like you have to have them. They're there because it's
Dude,
illegal.
was there any difference between having Lander with you or me with you?
As far as flagging me in, no.
Or as far as him, quote unquote, guiding you?
well, he knew the area.
Yes, he
and
did.
that's the big thing is he knew the area. But as far as like glassing and things like that, you're all doing the same thing. You're pulling up on a hill, you're glassing. But Lander has
Strategy.
the spirit of he has been there forever. So he
Oh,
knew,
yeah.
if Brian and I just pulled up, we'd be driving in some circles figuring out the road.
I'm not disagreeing with that. But let's say, like, Brian Call shows up in Colorado. Oh, wow, he did in September.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he hunts with Aaron to an area he's always been.
Yeah.
I didn't. So you're like my guide, dude.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I see no stark difference between you and Lander or me and you showing up and hunting together.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. I was going to say, because there was an advantage because Lander knew the area. But, yeah, it's the same
It's
thing.
you're hanging out with your buddy who's hunted an area for a long time.
If you drew the same tag, you wouldn't need me this year because you know
Yeah.
now where to go for elk. But, yeah, so anyway, in the case of that situation, the guy didn't help. Or Alberta. The deer were smart, and we've talked about this. So,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not
Curve.
But I mean, the technology portion of it, I don't like that. I mean, there is that is the beat down stair step, right? My beat down now, like, and Luke mentions it. Anybody that didn't want
You
me
have
to
a bow
kill,
without a soul.
yeah, exactly. I haven't heard that one, but I'm
Carbon
like,
arrows. You're not shooting wood ones.
well, of course you killed a bunch of stuff. You had the time off. Yeah, no, I did. I mean, I worked my butt off to get here, but
Right.
of course. But if you would have condensed, instead of shooting 5 animals, I probably would have got 3. And they're
Right,
realistic when I work construction, time off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would have shot my Colorado mule deer, the BC bear, and the Colorado elk. Probably about what I would have
Yeah.
gotten, and a turkey. I wouldn't have been able to afford to go on the grizzly hunt. Maybe the Alberta hunt, it's questionable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the American way. Beat the shit out of your buddy that's doing good, right?
Well, when you mentioned the guy that hikes in all those miles, 30 miles, and shoots it with a rifle, and then you got a stick bow guy who flew in with a helicopter, landed a few hundred yards from the sheep, went over the hill and shot it with a stick bow. Which one was
What I love the best. I got the monkey off my back. I finally got a big bull. It cost me $15,000 for the tag, or $30,000 or whatever. I paid $10,000 for the guide. Well, how much of a monkey? You maybe have got one of those little pet monkeys. You pull out a little claw thing, but you didn't go out. What I would consider getting the monkey off your back is where you started, where that monkey came from. Did the monkey come from do-it-yourself backcountry hunts with a stick bow? Then I would say getting that monkey off your back is a do-it-yourself backcountry with a stick bow. You've yanked that monkey off.
Yeah.
If the monkey came on your back with that and you pulled that monkey off with $35,000, I'd say that monkey's still hanging on pretty freaking tight. And that's maybe not technology, but that's money, and that's the same thing. I mean, you're buying.
Well, we talked about
Success.
baiting the other day. It was an interesting comment you made, which was, if you're okay with a guy spending, $15,000 on a
range.
private land tag and on a hunt, how can you fault the guy who does baiting? Because basically he's just increasing his odds.
Well, anybody that argues that, I would say needs to do a real big step back and a check with themselves, because I have baited bears and I have baited blacktails. Mm-hmm. Last year we baited black bear unit. I sat in the ground blind 14 hours a day for 3 days with a.
Yeah.
I didn't kill a bear. I didn't see a bear. Okay. There was bears coming that they came in at night.
Yeah.
Let's reverse that. Okay. Now I go to Saskatchewan or go somewhere else and it's baited and it's almost automatic, not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to look at. But one's with a buddy and free. The other one's not free. It's $3,500 to $5,000.
Yeah.
You're paying for success or an increased opportunity. Now with technology, okay, optics increase, better clothing increase, better weapon increase, better
Better shelter.
Yeah, you go on and on.
Go long.
Radios.
What is it? Go farther, stay longer.
Go farther, stay longer. You're paying for increases in success. Now, at some level, everybody's going to draw their own moral line. Meaning, if your moral line is what's legal, then you know where it's at. Well, other people are going to draw a moral line.
Like, I don't
Like
care,
Steve.
like Steven Ranella, like, I don't care that it's legal to use radios, two-way communication here. I don't feel like that is, for me, is, as fair and sporting or as ethical, so I'm not going to use it. There's your line. So there's this line that's legal, and then here's your ethical line. And there's a lot of people who, for example, feel like baiting. It's a legal activity in many states, but they choose not to do it. I've heard Ranella talk about this many times. He doesn't want to do it.
Well, and last year, I can say firsthand, we baited North Idaho, 3 days, 14 hours a day. I didn't even see a bear. I mean, they came in at the dark.
Right.
But then if I
That
would
just means you're not that good a baiter.
Oh, I'm not. We had mentioned I am not a masturbator in the last podcast. I'll mention that again for all of you tuning in. But if you pay $5,000 or whatever to go to Saskatchewan or somewhere, you're probably going to get a bear. I mean, someone's baiting for you or whatever, increasing your odds with money or bait, whatever. Same thing to me.
What I find ironic, is I think when it comes to baiting, that there's a lot of nuances and skill involved in it. Where it goes. It's same with hunting with dogs, with hounds.
It was a rite of passage for a lot of my old time buddies.
It's not like, you just go out and you run dogs and you kill a cougar.
Yeah.
It's just not like that. And I would submit, which I find interesting, for a long time, and until I started following Ranella, I thought trapping seemed like cheating.
Oh yeah, and
that's not hunting. That's cheating.
I have to, and Steve will probably hate me. Steve, you've trapped a bunch, and I have as well. And if you're going to say baiting is bad and trapping is okay, no, I don't agree with that at all. I love trapping. I would wish I could trap.
The thing that I learned from Ranella and the Meat Eater TV and the program and stuff about trapping, which gave me a respect for it, was, but this is again somewhat tied to baiting too.
Yeah.
You learn some animal behavior, and you can argue this, but when you're setting up a trap in a little corridor, you have to understand how beavers move, how they set up, a minx, a fox, or whatever it is you're going after, right? There's all these things that you learn about animals, how they leave their sign, where they like to scent post, but you're still using bait, like in terms of scent. You're still using food on occasion. You're still using attractants.
There's covey sets that, I'm not even going to go
snares.
into trapping. But as far as different sets, you've got different sets, meaning different ways to set up a trap.
Yeah.
Sets. Anyway, but think of it as a human, okay? Mm-hmm. If I set a trap for you to die out this front door,
yes,
you're coming out, right? Is that knowledge of human beings? There's a front door. There's a home. You're coming out of it. There's a little torn out spot under a fence. The animal's walking under it. It's not rocket science in a lot of ways, depending upon the animal. Some animals are a bit smarter than others. Curiosity killed the cat.
Well, you've done it. I haven't. So
it's not.
It can be done.
It can be done with no bait. It helps with bait. Right. But with a bear, if I could trap a bear, I could do it without bait. No problem. I mean, weld on some teeth. This is illegal as hell, so don't do it. I'm just saying, you weld teeth, there's a water hole, there's a trail coming in. Oh, you're going to get a bear. You may get an elk and some other stuff too, but he's coming, right? You're going to get one. It's just with bears, they use their nose. They can smell farther away than most animals. They're obviously like to eat whatever, especially junk food. Legal, illegal. Depending upon if you're using beaver caster to trap, I would say that starts with a B and ends with an 8. It's bait, one way or another. There's no way around it. And so that's where when you start casting stones, and I'm not bashing on Rinella or whatever, I'm just saying that it does give people a little ammo to start maybe firing some stones back at what you do. And again, if you're like me, I do everything. So you can't really, I don't mind any of it. I may choose to not trap or because I have to travel. It's illegal here. You can box trap here. But I can tell you now, it is difficult to catch a bobcat in a trap without some sort of maybe not bait. Christmas ornaments work great. You put a Christmas ornament, fling it around. They love and then throw some feathers out, and then chuck the wing in the back of the box trap or the set. That's still bait. In some way, it's not a pile of donuts.
The point is that when we start talking about using tools and technology and calling it ethical or not ethical, we start getting into slippery slopes, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
And from the outside looking in, there's a huge part of the non-hunting public that wants to hear things like, I don't use radios.
Yeah.
Right? Wants to hear things like, I hike in, I only do backcountry hunts. I never bait.
Yeah.
I don't use dogs. Right? These are all things that, and to me, slowly but surely, we have this tendency to
sugarcoat things for the public's eye.
Yeah.
Well, I can
and it's killing at the end of the day. And I love, again, how Rinella has done such a good job of demonstrating how hounds work.
Yeah.
And what an art it is and how difficult it can be.
Well, and it's, as far as the hounds go, that's their innate nature to run. They love that. When you take that away from them, it's like putting a lion in a cage. That is what they are bred to do. As far as right, wrong, if you trap, you don't want to walk up to a cat or a fox that's in a leg hold because they look like the saddest creature in the world. They're all cold and they're looking up at the camera, or you that's about to put a 22 round in them because you want the pelt to sell. It's arguable when you start throwing stones.
Yeah, and so anyway, it's just one of those things that I'm, I always find it interesting where different guys, and we get into these discussions all the time, where a guy feels like something is ethical and where something is not ethical.
And there's common sense about it too, like the spearing. We just talked about a ton this year with spearing the bear. Which has been funny because we had some guys get on there and say, you're taking the side of the Bowmars, and then there's other guys like, we hate you didn't take Under Armour side or whatever.
Or take the Bowmars side. You screwed the Bowmars. It's like, wait a minute.
My opinion of that is just you, like your wife or your kids or whatever, every step you take in your life is, if you're a good father, dad, whatever, husband, boyfriend, you want them to be protected and taken care of. So there's things you're going to shelter them from in life. Spearing a bear is something probably could have been sheltered from to the public's eye on YouTube and smeared blood on your face. Right. The same thing with hunting. Like, if you killed it with a bait, should you say, hey, I baited or whatever? I think, in the right circles, of course. You need to tell the story.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you need to put a YouTube video up of 6 pounds of donuts.
Well, I think, dude, if you're going to do it that way, you should be honest about it. But at the same time, if you're going to do it that way, you need to provide context. And education.
Yeah.
And, when I shop, I've used apples on blacktails.
Yeah.
Dude, I did my whole film describes how that goes down and why I do it and why I like it.
Yeah, and they've been doing, get videos of Larry D. Jones whack blacktails with apples
flying out of their mouth.
Well, and I can tell you, I have a buddy that hunted in Southern Oregon, private land, apple orchards, big Big blacktails. Big
100%.
blacktails. I would choose that hunt, which is technically ethical in every way possible from any means. I would pick that every day than comparison to baiting in other areas, piling up apples.
Right.
Because those deer, one, don't get shot at because they're tame. Because they're not tame. They're on public land, or they're on private land.
Yeah.
And that's where we've already said this over and over. If you're paying for an increased chance of success from private land, and then that guy casts stones at a dude for putting apples on private land or on public land or private, but if you're paying for increased success on a private ranch or whatever, you probably shouldn't cast too many stones for the public land guy. Same thing with technology.
So it's just something that when it comes up, I just got to get. We always end up having this debate. Like, wait a minute. There's a lot that plays into this. I'm not judging another guy. I'm happy for him. Great buck, great elk, great bear. I'm not going to do it that way, but it's great you did. I don't have. It's not. And I'm not saying it to be rude or anything either. It's just we have different. It's like I have no desire to shoot. Right now, no driving, overwhelming desire to go out and kill stuff with a stick bow.
I don't right now either, actually.
Which arguably would be, let's say, a more quote-unquote ethical way of hunting, giving the animal the most chance of escape, right? Using the least level of technology to get the job done, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I would choose a compound with no apples below me way before or whatever bait in general, way before I would put apples in a recurve below me or whatever the case may be for some animals. And the point to that is people hunt with compounds all the time. And I guess what I'm saying is I would rather have a compound and no bait than a stick bow with bait.
Well, what's funny is sometimes we focus on this. It's like, okay,
straight proficiency or animals on the ground.
But it's sort of like this seesaw that you see. Like a guy's like Brunella, he's like, I don't hunt with radios. I don't find it ethical, and I don't want to do that. That's great. Now you've just seesawed up, right? Like you're on this higher plateau, and that's neat.
Then you got the 300 Win Mag.
Then you throw the 300 Win Mag on. It's like, whoop, it goes back the other way.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. The technology you're using is pretty high tech here.
Yeah.
But you're not using radios. Wait a minute. Or the guy with the stick bow and the helicopter versus the rifle and the legs. And you start to go back and forth. And so it's that slippery slope I'm talking about where it can just kind of bounce around. But back to our the original issue here is there does seem to be a fear. Jay Scott did a podcast on this. I thought it was pretty interesting. Where Jay's going on about technology and asking this question, and they debated it. Does technology, technology's rising to the point where it's going to eliminate hunter opportunity? We've had this discussion on more than one occasion. I think that there can be an incremental minor decrease in the amount of hunter opportunity due to an increase in technology. Yeah. I just I've not seen it over the years, this vast change.
Other than the public's maybe perspective of it, but with sheer numbers, no. Maybe, which I've gotten arguments, you've got 7 pins on your bow and you've, whatever, name it.
You're effective out to 90 yards with precision. Back in the day, my dad was lucky to get 30 with his compound.
Shaky at best with those days. But
and you're using fingers and no release. And it's hitting your arm like on occasion.
Oh yeah, and I mean I would have killed stuff quicker this year with a compound, but we got it done with a recurve. I think though I would be interested, without turning this into a crap show, to hear what the viewers would take away or would keep. Meaning, right now, if you asked me what I would keep and take away, right now I would 100% spring bear, without a doubt, in every state where the numbers allow.
What do you mean take away?
I would reintroduce spring bear here to Colorado.
Oh.
If I could reintroduce spring bear and take away, we don't have baiting, but take away baiting, meaning like if you could have a spring and a fall bear, Idaho has it. Make sure I'm explaining this correctly. We don't have baiting in Colorado at all, and we don't have a spring bear at all. I would like to see a spring bear in Colorado. I could care less if they allow baiting or not, but I like a spring bear.
Yeah.
I don't lighted knocks. We just reintroduced them. I could care less technology-wise. If they wanted to make radios illegal across the United States, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. Baiting, I don't care if people bait. If they wanted to take it away or keep it, it doesn't affect me at all. But as I'm talking about this, what it does affect is we're giving up something we already had. We're basically, in tug of war, we are getting closer and closer to the line of losing.
That's what I mean. Like
potentially.
the other thing too, Aaron, is, you talk about all these advantages that technology gives a guy.
Yeah.
But I know some guys that need every advantage they can get in order to put meat in the freezer.
And they generally still don't. A lot of them.
Yeah. So for me, it's like my reasons for hunting
It's the
are
Bernie
not.
Sanders hunting lane, right? It's the Bernie. Sorry.
My reason for hunting is not always the same as the next guy.
Yeah.
I know guys that just want to go out and their goal is to spend the least amount of time possible in the woods. Their goal is to get meat and go home. It's a natural resource in the environment. They want to shoot an elk and they want to fill their freezer up and they want to be done.
Yep.
And they've got other things to do. Then you have guys that they want to feel the cold and the chill and conquer a mountain and do the impossible and like Aaron Snyder and shoot a stick bow.
Yeah.
They have guys like that, right? And then everything in between. And what bothers me is when you have the purist, let's say, we'll call you the purist.
Which I am far from the purist, but yeah.
With the stick bow. And then here you are saying, I don't like it that this guy, just drove out and shot something right off, less than 100 yards off the road and just drove it home. I mean, that's not even hunting.
Yeah. That's not me, though, by the way.
No.
No.
But that's the thing is not everybody's doing it for the same reasons.
Right.
So, for example, when someone's baiting or trapping, when it's legal and it's something that we can do to harvest these resources,
Drop some funk on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't like to see it. I just don't like to see it slowly whittled away
Well,
because of somebody's ideas on ethics.
And what I was trying to get at earlier was the give and take was I'd gladly give up using radios in Colorado to give back trapping or to give back spring bear hunting. Meaning, if they say, Aaron, you can only use a recurve and, you whatever, you can't have lighted knocks and you can only have, whatever, no scope. I don't make shit up. But you can have spring bear back. You can have trapping back. I would do that, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee the harvest success ratios aren't going to change. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't. To me, it doesn't really. A guy that kills stuff's going to kill stuff. Harvest stuff's. The technology isn't going to make a whole lot of difference.
Well, we've seen it over and over again. I don't see we're talking about banning drones,
Yeah,
which I like the idea of that for hunting.
I do 100%.
Yeah.
I only think drones are good for filming. I mean,
Yeah.
filming meaning epic stuff.
But I don't think that drones. I think drones give a guy an unfair advantage, right? But you can argue that rifles give hunters an unfair advantage.
Yep, they do.
Now, when you start, if what Ranella said is true, and because of technology and the advances of it, now you're getting harvest rates of you're issuing 100 tags, and instead of a 20% success rate, you're getting, let's say, a 90% success rate.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I thought about was, your time in the woods is maybe less in terms of you actually hunting with a tag in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
but the success rate stays the same.
Yeah.
Like Steven said, that you're definitely. It's not like animal numbers are going to suffer due to technology.
Yeah, the amount of tags coming out.
The amount of tags are going to change because basically success rates have risen so high that there's just so many tags that can be allowed versus when you have this failure rate that's so great,
Right.
opportunities can be given to everyone. But opportunity doesn't mean success. It just
Right.
means opportunity.
No, for sure. And for whatever reason, if I had somebody come over and say, we killed 188-inch ram,
Mhm.
and we used a drone, I have to say I'd never asked myself that question immediately. It would probably go down in the cool book a little bit. Like, it wouldn't be the same for me.
Mhm.
Compared to a guy's like, yeah, I flagged him in with a radio. That's weird for me. I guess I just thinking about that. The radio never really crossed my mind too much. Where
Yeah.
the drone, maybe because I've seen
You're like, whoa, whoa.
pred feeds, so I'm like, I mean, you know what's going on. Believe me, you know what's happening.
Well, you've also been in Northwest Territories up there with Clay and stuff, and you've been in a helicopter. In essence, I mean, that's what a drone is. And when you fly over with a helicopter, man, what an advantage. Am I wrong?
No. Okay, so just a quick recap. I'm going to do a little, context before I start on in the territories with those hunts. For the outfitters, they're allowed to use helicopters or airplanes and meaning fly relatively close to the animals. I have no problem with any of that. It is a very rough and rugged area. You don't have time. A lot of people don't have time to spend. They don't have the physical ability. What those helicopters do is allow hunters and guides, for that matter, to live a longer, happier life. In the guide's perspective, he can lengthen his career by 10, 15 years guiding. It also allows hunters that don't have time, for one. They have, multi-million-dollar companies, family obligations, whatever. A pretty much guaranteed chance of success. I don't have any issue with that. But if a hunt lasted longer than 24 hours for a Dall sheep up there, something had gone wrong, right? Like, and I don't have any issue with any of this. It's just there is an advantage, and it doesn't matter if it's a helicopter or a plane. If you fly over and you know where they're at 24 hours ahead of time, it helps. Now, I think it's great up there. The sheep are
But
extremely
here in
plentiful.
Colorado, where we're at, if somebody goes flying over with a drone,
Is
is that going to bother you?
here's the big difference is up there is no one.
There's no pub. It's
the animal pressure is non-existent. That would be the only big difference is
managed differently.
well, you don't even see people, let alone a drone, right? Like, you're not going to see anybody coming in.
Right.
I mean, there is no, we got to hurry to that ram because somebody may come. There is no one.
But
there.
I honestly wonder, if you were allowed to fly drones everywhere and everybody had their chance at drones, would there really be an increase in harvest rates?
I don't know that there'd be an increase in harvest rates. To me, what there might be an increase of is quality. Where I can say,
I don't know, though. I mean, you're maybe thinking of it from a bow hunting perspective.
no, in general, like, I guess what I'm getting at is if you have a band of rams, okay, and in that band of rams, you hover. I just say preds over drones. You hover drone over an area you can't see, and you know immediately what's in there. You don't even have to hike over. You fly it back. You don't even have to. So automatically, you're going to be able to look at, I don't know what the percentage would be, a significantly larger amount of areas
Without walking.
Will it make you lazier? Yeah. Would I use it? No. I don't even own one for filming. I just hate the idea of packing the damn thing in.
But look at how much you can see with a pair of binos and spotter nowadays.
But you can't see over humps.
No, but still, you can look for 5 miles.
Oh, yeah. No.
That's
and
technology. We didn't ban that for hunting.
Oh, yeah. And I agree. And I think
I just am just a devil's advocate kind of thing. I'm just
I
curious.
know exactly what you're getting at. I think what the thing with me is, the other thing too, I guess, is if you've already got a drone and you're finding animals, you probably know what you're doing already. You don't fly drones over and just magically flying giant rams, right? You got a pretty good idea of where they're at, but it's going to simplify and increase a good or great hunter's odd to exceptional, or it's going to increase your odds.
But so does a spotter, and so does some of today's technology. All I'm getting at is, like I said, the optics today blow away what my grandpa had.
Yeah.
And yet harvest rates aren't through the roof.
Yeah.
Hunter opportunity is still great.
And I guess that's when you ask, what my biggest thing is, if I had a drone, it really, stuff's still going to die, right? Like anything we did
Right.
the only thing.
Like everything that we killed this year, it died without a drone.
Yeah. And I mean,
It's still going to die.
I guess if we flew, well, hell, I would have picked a radio over a drone in Alberta. I mean, if you could have called me and said, hey, the deer's right below you, that would have beat a drone.
Though, I mean, if I flew it right over there and said, see, Aaron, it's right there, then you would have been like, oh, yeah.
Well, the thing I'm thinking, though, is they're so skittish. I would have afraid they
I
ran
know,
off.
that's my thing, too. You'd have to fly it real high.
Oh, man, I would have picked a radio because they would have been like, oh, look, there's a mean eagle and taken off. But, yeah, I don't know that the success ratio is going to change. And, I mean, I don't know, with Jay Scott, for example, with his podcast, I didn't listen to that one. But it's people pay him to increase success on, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and I don't know how much private he's on to public, and you know, I don't know, but I do know is if you go to the Hill Ranch in Colorado, in my opinion, and you pay for that, you're coming out with an elk. Mm-hmm. Many ranches like that. Mm-hmm. If you say I went to the Hill Ranch and I killed a 360 bull, and you tell me, you know, I'll use Dale Pearson and I. Dale hiked, backpacked in 5 miles, and I flagged Dale in, and he got within 25 yards of that elk. What's worse, right? Like, I mean, I guarantee there's a lot more effort came in on the backpack radio hunt compared to the Hill Ranch and paying for. There's a lot of elk on the Hill Ranch. I mean, it's like give me, but you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
It is. There's a lot of argument in there. So I think we probably beat the horse.
We did. We beat this thing. But it's an interesting discussion because
everybody's got their own emotions into
it, too. At the end of the day, though, I just think, for me, the point I want to get across, I guess, or the thing I want to say is that I don't think technology is the devil that we kind of make it out to be, and I think that, like I said with the seesaw, sometimes what one person thinks makes the hunt harder and beats their chest over. If you look real closely at yourself, you might just find out that, gosh, I do other things that increase my odds of success, and I employ technology that others find that others say they would never use.
Yeah, no, I've seen guys,
you know, like a lot of our hunts. I mean, I can remember talking to Anthony years ago, and he's like, I have no desire to kill a blacktail with a rifle. None. It just feels like cheating. No desire to kill an elk with a rifle. None. It just doesn't feel right to me. Just not my kind of hunt. That's not how I want to spend my hunt.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah.
And so when you and that's, you know, since then Anthony shot a whole bunch with rifles. Yeah. He's totally changed his mind as he's gotten a little older, and he's like, it's just hunting's for, you know, different. But when we have that attitude, like
never,
yeah, or that's wrong, I think you got to do a little quick self-assessment there and go, wait a minute, is it really wrong, or is it just, you know, me?
Yeah. Well, and technology in the sense of social media is the worst technology of all, probably, because none of us would even know about this if it wasn't for freaking Facebook. I mean, think about it. Brian and I, we could have killed a 240-inch buck. You would have seen it in magazines.
Right.
No one would have known. But now that we have the podcast and all this technology, you knew if I tripped on the way down, and I'm probably making fun of Brian, that he did something else. And
I'm
everyone
hyperventilating on the way up.
Yeah, everyone knows everything. But, I mean, if you took away, I guess my point was, if you took away Facebook, Instagram, forums, and everything else, and you look at today's success ratio, and you look at it 20 years ago, and you take away all of that, meaning Facebook, Instagram, forums, no one's ever going to know the difference, that there's anything different at all. And I think that's something to remember too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Technology is a cool thing, and I don't see it going anywhere soon. You know what I mean? If
you're going to bash technology, grab a recurve and let me know how things go.
At the same time, we've talked about this before. as hunters, we should really applaud each other when we're successful and when we get out and when we hunt for different motives, different reasons, instead of all that, judgment and I'm better than you
the
stuff.
hater thing bugged me at first, but now I get a kick out of it, right? Like, there's no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. Camera, photography. I got bashed the other day. I got 3 emails that were posting too many photos of those 2 bucks.
Yeah.
How can you hate seeing that deer? It's a wonderful deer. Both of them are.
I know.
And it's like, I literally got an email. A guy was like, hey, dude, do you really need to keep posting photos of that buck? And I was like, man, how many did I post? So I looked through and we photographed it twice.
Yep.
And then I did it again in the snow the other day, which I wasn't sure it was the same buck.
Yeah.
And I posted 4 total photos of it. 4 total photos of one of the coolest deer you'll ever see. And
someone complained.
3 people complained. And I understand it's okay. I posted too many photos or you did or we did.
I don't care.
I just was like, if it was a hot chick, and this is a deer that's just, it's a magnificent animal, a couple of them. So
I just think, any parting words, Aaron? Let's wrap this baby up.
This podcast is brought to you by the new Hoyt Carbon Defiant 34, because mine is right behind the camera and I'm pumped up to put it together.
In a box?
In a box, it is. And thanks.
Aaron, how can you be shooting a compound?
Because I want to kill stuff more frequently with less struggle. I actually have a deadly stick behind me now, not the struggle stick.
Yeah. But you're not done with the struggle stick.
No, we were talking. We went over the hunt schedule this year.
It's a love-hate.
Yeah. We're going to do a few hunts with everything. We may do round 2 with the grizzly with the recurve. So
that's right.
Yep.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening and tuning in. Stay gritty.
Stay gritty.
Friends, hunters, outdoorsmen, lend me your ears. Please take this moment to listen to this excerpt from the Gritty Bowman film, Back to Traditions. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it. We want to thank Kifaru, Mountain Ops, Hoyt, Vortex, Phelps, Black Eagle Arrows, and Crispy Boots for supporting the Gritty Bowman. We love these companies and the people behind them. They truly make fantastic products. Please support them whenever you can. And as always, good luck on your hunts and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.